Hello and welcome to your twin flame messages for right now. I hope your right now is going very well. Lots and lots going on at the moment. If you're watching this around the time of recording, though, you know, time is very ever present. All that is always already here. So whatever time you're watching, it's a powerful and transitional time. So I'll try not to talk too much. Some people do like just quickly to say, some people do like the red thread, as I'm calling it. I don't feel as though I have any control over whether it's face-to-face or a red thread recording. They come as they come. I'm using the Tower of the New Vision as we move into this new consciousness. Well, I'm channeling as new consciousness. I'm not sure anybody else is really channeling it, but they are feeling it and talking about it. Lots of shift going on. And let's just see what our messages are for this week. Okay. Off we go. So let's see how these are showing up. Oh, here she is again. Strength card. Oh, there we go. Strength. Wow, look at that. Strange. There we go. Strength. So on these cards, the images are the back of the images from the traditional tarot, if you will. For me, this really represents that we've kind of moved through the picture onto the other side. So we've moved through that first Rider-Waite deck of tarot, and we're on the other side of that now, which means we can kind of look at it from a different perspective and see, you know, retrospective is always 2020 vision, right? So retrospectively, we can always have greater understanding because we've been through it, we've seen it from a lot of the angles. Talking about moving through time, if you think about time like a tree trunk, and it gets a ring every year, as you kind of move through an experience, it's like, say you were taking a snapshot all the way through, so you're moving through an experience, like an experience in space and time. It's a physical thing. It's like a slice. You see all these different slices, all these different photographs, so you get to see all of the perspectives essentially going through the experience. And these are kind of like on the other side. So on the strength card, this is really speaking of this understanding of everything that you've been through. And also, I cannot not speak collectively here. All of the work that moves through here is all about the collective. And on a YouTube basis, because that's where I started talking about this stuff, it really is what I'm calling like twin flame consciousness, which really I powerfully believe is kind of like divine masculine, divine feminine consciousness, what we might call a Christ consciousness. There are no definitive definitions of anything, but this is the language that I use around this sort of energy. So in these terms, it's speaking of the strength of character, the strength of like the resilience of you, and being able to really look back, have understanding around everything that's happened in the past that's taken you to this now moment, and really just understanding this idea of masculine and feminine, action and no action, positive and negative, all these dualities. Strength card is a major arcana card. And then there's something really interesting in this card. I draw your attention to the thing that we cannot see on the other cards, or that the artwork on here is the only to really show. And this is this figure at the top of the mountain there. This masculine figure. For me, he's a kind of a Zeus figure, but also it's got a kind of like Moses energy to it, any kind of messenger or prophet that's standing at the top of the mountain. And it really does represent this kind of like masculine figure that stands as a connection to God. This really represents for me this masculine prophet. I absolutely consider myself, and I'm just able to accept really and understand and embrace exactly in this kind of idea of seeing who I am, so to speak, in this character that's playing here. I would call myself a prophetess, a messenger. That's really what I am. Maybe I should call myself that, the twin flame prophetess. It sounds much more accurate, honestly. So let me know in the comments what you think about that. It's got this kind of energy to it, but in this more masculine. So there's been a lot of like feminine energy around this, kind of more channels, because the feminine energy is quite receptive. So it makes more sense that there'd be like a feminine channel, and within the kind of like Christian theology, there's this idea of the Holy Spirit being a feminine energy. It's kind of like more intuitive, all of this kind of stuff. It moves through, it's flowing, and it's a receptive, it requires a receptive energy. This is more masculine. It's more the masculine male energy meeting this receiving from God, shall we say. This is the symbolism of the top of the mountain. He's kind of got his staff there, and these 3 balls in his hand, which is kind of interesting because I went to a Christmas fair with and you see the little dragon in the sky. I went to a Christmas fair with my daughters and my other half this weekend, and my daughter bought basically 3 squeezy balls, just like that. So there we go. Synchronicities abound. It's also 1333 when I looked at the time there. So I did want to bring this up at the 333, and also the 666. So the 666 number came into my awareness this week, and has always been, for me, honestly, a little bit scary. But I really kind of delved into it and looked into it around the numerology, and I finally understood it because it really represents the material. And it's almost like we project this, well, higher, more angelic quality to the spiritual, and then the material is kind of heavier and denser. But really what it represents is embodiment, and really manifestation. Really it's a manifestation energy. It's bringing forth. When we bring the material to the physical, we bring to the spiritual. When we bring the spiritual to the material, when we allow those things to coexist powerfully, this is speaking of this channeled experience. We're all channels for God. This has really been moving through me a lot this week. I got out of the bath, and it was just kind of like a download, or like a kind of insight, a moment into my head about me being God. Not intellectually, because it's always kind of like easy to understand that we're all one and we're all God from that space. But it was really just this feeling of, the creator is all permeating in my being, in my body, in my beingness, in the material experience of self, right? We're getting a bit deep here, but this is really what this is about. This is why I'm back online, because there's so much powerful stuff happening, and I genuinely believe I'm going to say it, the only person that can actually translate this in a way that you can understand, and in a way that is powerful and really creates and moves us and transitions us smoothly into the new wave of Earth, the new conscious Earth is really what I want to call it, which is absolutely happening next year. This is why I'm here. This is why I'm kind of like coming back front and center, and you are part of that. This is a representation of this blossoming of you, this invitation for you to blossom, for you to create, for you to really live the life that you were born to live. And there's a kind of process of shift and change, and that's really happening now, that's a little bit challenging to navigate, because it can feel a bit like you're in a boat in the ocean, and you're being tossed around a bit. But you just have to know that that boat and these winds are taking you to your treasure island, and just really remember that, because this is really that transition that's happening. Everything, lots and lots in this card. Okay, let's see what our 3 middle cards are. Oh, yes. Cool. Right. So awesome. Oh my goodness. This is getting better and better. I have not seen this card in this deck yet. It's still quite new for me. I've only had it a few months. So 8 of Pentacles from the other side. So normal 8 of Pentacles, we see this figure making his pentacles. He's building them up. And then we can now see kind of like what he can see or what's on the other side of him. Another artisan building, chiseling, channeling through a figure. This makes complete sense with everything I was just saying about this creating of self, that you are the creator and the created, and that is really the experience, the experience of spiritual embodiment is to really know that you are simultaneously the creator and the created, and yet there is still something bigger and greater. So there is always an untouchableness to life, because it is so vast, it is so huge, it is so multiple in terms of perspective, that it's impossible for us to comprehend in time and space. That creates this genuine experience and truth that we cannot say the word, we cannot utter or speak that which will reflect that essence and that truth. Because it's so huge that time makes it too small. To break it into a piece is to not reflect it in its wholeness. This card is really speaking about this. I apologize if this is boring and a little bit too intense for anybody, just flick on to another video. But this is for those with ears to hear that really need to hear this, for whom I am the only one that's going to be able to move this through to you. So there's this idea that who is the watcher? Who is the observer? There is an omnipresent force that is able to observe this, which is you, the creator, creating self. This is all that is also, but there is also something greater. The invitation is to really expand into this experience of I am creator and created in your experience, not intellectually. It's also speaking to the power of manifestation, the power of creation. If you are really truly connected up to your God self, or using prophetesses or within twin flame relationship, this masculine energy is a massive teacher. If you can use them to find your creative essence, understanding that the self here is your creation, and to really get a hold of that and say, right, I am the potter, this is the clay, whoever I want to be in this life is completely up to me and my creation. This is really what's happening now. In a more traditional sense, this 8 of Pentacles speaks of the material, speaks of a very powerful, productive energy of building around the material, of manifestation, of wealth and abundance, of the work involved, though, in the experience of wealth and abundance. So whatever feels wealthy or abundant to you, whatever you seek, in general, it's time. In general, the most abundance we can experience is an abundance of time, where we are just free to do whatever we want to do. There's also resources necessary. So we can have an abundance of time without resources. It's not that fun. So it really is kind of like resources and time. It's saying here and speaking here that it's necessary to do the work in alignment. I would call it aligned work. It's connected up to God. It's connected up to this greater thing, so that you can, you know what I'm talking about. I feel it. You get it. You're like, it's, I call it flow. It's really just connectedness. And you either can do that yourself, because we're all connected up to that force and energy. That's life. It's life force. But there are people like me and others that can translate or can be a messenger for you, can basically distill that, has a kind of like fast track translate, essentially a translator, radio translator that you can use. So use this stuff, use all of my videos, use that to tune in, to get your messages. That's what you use it for. It's basically like a kind of catalyst or like a speed. It's like it speeds up your Wi-Fi. You know, it's like a Wi-Fi router. It's everywhere, but without the router, you know, you can't really pick it up. So it's really kind of like an extension, and anything that brings you more connection, just kind of do it. That could be meditation, that could be, for me, heat, kind of like sauna is really powerful, exercise, anything that increases circulation to the brain, essentially really kind of like gets the whole brain working and alive, keep it flowing. Craniosacral therapy, very powerful. You know, all of those things that can just really increase that connection. Yoga, very powerful as well. Anything that is really just enabling you to feel more connected. Do that, then take action. Allow that action to flow from that place. So this is how your life becomes a kind of like walking meditation. When I first started going out with Andy, he was, I think he thought he was trying to impress me, or he was like, oh yeah, I meditate. And then I was like, oh, you know, yeah, I mean, I said I'm meditating all the time. And, you know, it's bringing that quality of presence to every moment where you're just sensitive and flowing. I mean, there are different top brain states that we achieve in lots of different situations, but it's almost like I can't let this go. It's like a dog with a bone, the message around this connecting up. Do whatever you need to do to connect up. For some people, it's like running, riding on a bicycle, really getting your heart rate up, and repetitive movement, dance, art, whatever's really connecting you up. I do all of those things as well. Okay, so Eight of Pentacles, take the action, do the thing, but make sure it's connected up. Then second card, Knight of Wands. This is kind of speaking to this as well. Knight of Wands here, you can only see two of the pyramids in this Knight of Wands. You can see the three in the other. But you can see the camels, you can see the caravan. I'm reminded of Paulo Coelho's book, The Alchemist. That's another good thing you can do to connect. Reading books that inspire, also channeled material. I'm reminded, so anybody that has bought my book, it is going to be out in January. It's taking a lot of time to edit, the final edit. It's just not ready, and I can't push it. Exactly like this. I can't push it. This is an important message as well. You can't take the action when it's not connected, when it's not in the flow. You got to understand that you are a conduit for so much amazing stuff in the world. The difference between you taking a right or a left turn changes the entire universe. Do not underestimate the power of your alignment, the power of your action. And when that action is aligned, in alignment with really what wants to happen in the highest, most beautiful vision and version and timeline, you know, do not underestimate your power. The Knight of Wands is speaking to, again, this sort of energy, the creative force, movement. It's again speaking of the past. You know what works for you. You know what gets you in the flow. Do that thing. Let me move this down a bit because I feel like, there we go. So go with the flow. Also kind of like find your people, find your caravan. Go to the place where you've been before, where your people were. Go, you know, find your people. The people are gathering. Keep tuned to my channel for a video this week about what I'm creating next year, and hosting next year as part of this gathering. It's very important that we bring the collective together and harness our consciousness to manifest together. It's very, 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 very important. I cannot, you know, all the bells and whistles are going for that. Okay, and then King of Pentacles, abundance. What's behind the King of Pentacles? Wow, look how fun this is. Oh my goodness, I don't even notice there's like an extra pentacle on the back. This is so cool. I love this. The imagery on these cards is so awesome. I don't know what this thing on the floor is. Maybe somebody can help. So we've got like a stork here, or some sort of long-billed bird. It's like a magic button there, isn't it? As soon as I saw that bird, I was thinking about children. Doesn't necessarily have to be your children, but this kind of like nieces, nephews, offspring, really understanding that all children are our children. All children are your children. And to really connect up with those children that you feel close to, and understanding that you are a mother to all children. I will share a little personal story that happened this week for me. My daughter's at a nursery, and one of the children from her nursery hasn't been very well, and he had been at the hospital, and they had a little Christmas fair, which I mentioned, and he'd been away for 3 weeks, this 3-year-old, and he came in with his mummy. And to cut a long story short, we had 2 mums and one of the teachers at the nursery school or kindergarten. We ended up having a very emotional experience together, just around this love that we have for this little boy. And he's very close and really, really loves my daughter. And just this connection between humans that is, we don't need help with it. It's natural. And this idea that we are all each other's children, and that you don't have to be a mother to understand motherhood. And you don't need permission to take responsibility for the children of the world and of the earth. And there's something really important about that, because it's innate and natural. It's part of the flow. And there's something about this, the gift, because this stork is speaking of birth. It's speaking of this gift, the delivery of the children. So, and really just understanding that it is our collective responsibility to take care and nurture and grow and teach and inspire our children. There's something very powerful about that. And that is on this King of Pentacles card, is really speaking of this idea of bringing together love and abundance, money, fortune, because the King of Pentacles is traditionally about money, wealth, business, all of these things. They don't need to be separate from love. They have to be integrated. And this isn't just about motherhood. It's also, it's parenthood. And we're all parents. It's not just a feminine energy. This is a masculine card, but it is speaking of this kind of like behind the scenes essence of who we are, that you are a gift. And when we find that gift, in ourselves, we find that gift in others, children are wonderful mirrors for that, then we can really begin to experience ourselves in this abundant way. It also speaks about this King of Pentacles energy and allowing him to support you, the world, that there are messengers, conduits for physical abundance, and really connecting those up with those that need the gift. That it's this kind of, I want to say philanthropic and philanthropy, but it's not necessarily that. It's just being aware and open to the needs of others and meeting those needs. Sometimes we are the one that gives, sometimes we are the one that receives. It doesn't really matter. It's really speaking of sharing, but the King of Pentacles is a very good manager of money. And so it's speaking about connecting up motherhood, receiving gifts, the gifts of who we really are, the creating of the self that we really are, connected to God, and then connecting that up with wealth, potentially moving through a masculine force, because there's, again, the bottom of the deck card is this. It's about this masculine force that's connected up to the heavens. So if this was in a personal reading, I would say there's someone available that has a very close connection to God, so to speak, in the way that I speak about it, like just really connected up to who they are and this energy and this force of life, and really it's love and connection, that has an incredible amount of resources, that wants to support you and your children, whoever they are. You can also kind of attach in that children's story, kind of like your legacy, you and your legacy, whatever you're because this is about creation, your work, what you're creating, what you have created. So this could be like, it's our children. We create our children. The culture really impacts our children. We create our children. Also our businesses, our art, our whatever we're creating, whatever you're creating and moving through you, it's like a benefactor or a supporter, connecting up those things. There's a massive connecting up happening. I've been waiting for this for over 13 years. And really my whole life, honestly. And it's very exciting, but also kind of lonely because I'm not quite connected up yet. That's why I'm here with you, trying to connect that up, get out to you so that we can really flow this through and absolutely do this. Absolutely, it's happening. It's absolutely happening. Absolutely. Should I say absolutely again? Absolutely fabulous. Right. Okay. And now King of Cups, another king. He was out last week. So a lot of masculine energy. This King of Cups is, especially in this deck, he's a little bit, like I said, he's got these kind of like, if you haven't checked it out, look at the last video. I think that'll be number 5. I think this is number 6. He's a bit defensive. He's still a little bit, he's isolated, so to speak, on his plinth, so that he can serve from a distance because he's kind of protecting. Again, bringing it to this idea of strength and this guy on the top of the mountain. He's kind of slightly set apart in a stone because he's there as a protector. He might not necessarily know that. The fact that he's kind of in this prophet position means that he might be realizing a lot of his spiritual destiny. I feel like I made a really funny face there, but it's sometimes difficult to find the words because it's more like his spiritual awareness, but it's like his spiritual self, his job. I would just call it your job, to be who you are, in service to the world, which also serves you. This King of Cups he's still a little bit apprehensive. I still feel a lot of kind of apprehensive energy, and you can understand it because look at that stuff. It looks a bit scary, that wave coming in. So it's speaking of being gentle to the masculine, male, spiritual counterparts, because it's almost like it's a bit much. How it manifests is, it's a little bit much and I can't really handle it, kind of thing. But the reality of it, the spiritual truth, that is not always necessarily in our awareness. What's really happening is, I must stay here to hold the energy. That's really what it's about. And all of this narrative and story is kind of like built around it, because otherwise we wouldn't just stay still. So it can manifest as fear, but everything that happens is only happening to get you where you need to be when you need to be there. That is it for you and for everybody else. That's why there's no point trying to get involved and go, let's just move this thing, try and move everything around. And we just feel impotent and awful and tired because we're trying to control everything. The force of love just moves us to where we need to be when we need to be there. And it's just life happening. It goes up, it goes down, it goes around, it goes all these places. All the stories are just entertainment to get us into those positions. So it seems like, I'm afraid. He's afraid. He's defensive. He's not moving. He doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't speak. He doesn't, all this kind of stuff. But really, he's holding the fort, so to speak. He's holding the space. He is not moving because he is supposed to be exactly where he's supposed to be. And in that regard, he's kind of following his spiritual truth, so to speak, better than anyone that's trying to move anything around, that thinks they know better. Yeah, I think that's it. let's just do one more. So I've got these. I wonder whether the reading that I used to do, the mirror reading, the masculine feminine mirror reading, I feel is I don't know what, it's very similar in channeling to the reading that is in this deck, which is the Twin Flame Ascension deck, which I really like. But I have to say, I feel as though there's either an influence energetically, spiritually with me and these cards, or genuinely some of my work has been like seen in a manifested form, so to speak, because it's the reading seems very reflected, either directly or through somebody else, but it's definitely connected. I don't know how, but I mean, like I said, it could be from anything, but it's very, very connected. So it was just here on the desk, and I was like, that's got something to say this week. So I'm gonna pull a card from this deck. They're very short. Again, the images mean quite a bit. Let's just see. Also, when I meditate, and I'm sure people will kind of have some things to say about that, I have very similar vision to this. Or if I'm, because I'm always meditating, like I said, but if I'm eyes closed, this is kind of like the portal into when I start to explore different aspects of consciousness. It doesn't happen all the time, but it's all, this is very similar to what I kind of like see when I'm, you know, connected up or entering into like exploring all the different dimensions. Not they have much time. Right. Oh, here we go. Oh, look at this, of course. 1111, take me home. Pathway to true love. Of course. I'm probably not going to read from these cards very often. So I do find these a bit challenging because they repeat in terms of finding the, so what is it? Olive? No. Red? Yes. Take me home. Take me home on page number 69. Right. When you align with real love, it will always lead you home, a journey into your heart, where you discover true self-love. You have faced many fears along your path that have revealed the mysteries to achieving great love. This process has healed and restored your enlightened heart, helping you feel both whole and complete. You are free to not only love, but to be loved. You are finding beauty in your painful journey and realizing the true essence of unconditional love for your twin flame. You are seeing the gift they have given you by taking you home. As a result, you can now emerge as the highest version of yourself and experience the depths of great love that you would not have known otherwise. Tune into your heart on a regular basis. When you pay attention to your feelings, it will help you experience peace and find harmony in both giving and receiving divine love. The Take Me Home card serves as a reminder to embrace your journey with gratitude, because your heart is now free to live fearlessly. So, honestly, you know, not a huge amount to say. Short, sharp, but really speaking of this essence of, again, retrospect, lining up with this, that you're kind of understanding the journey, embracing it, understanding when to take action, when not to take action, and really, I think, speaking to this transition of, you know, moving through to a really higher level of consciousness that is absolutely manifested and manifesting. So keep an eye on the channel for more videos, because there's a lot that's moving through that is not necessary in this space, but really about this transition of consciousness and what you need to know about it. Lots of love. Namaste, and I'll see you very soon.